What happens if football's next king doesn't wait his turn? Because if Lamine Yamal lifts the World Cup at just 19 years old, football doesn't just get a new champion. It gets a new ruler. And that changes everything. Just 2 years ago, the future looked obvious. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were walking toward the end of their legendary careers, and the entire football world had already chosen the next face of the sport. Kylian Mbappe. A World Cup winner. A global superstar. A player who looked destined to dominate the next decade. But football had other plans. Because while everyone was watching Mbappe, a teenager from Barcelona quietly started rewriting the script. Not by talking. Not by demanding respect. But by beating football's biggest stars, on football's biggest nights. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. This isn't just a rivalry. It's becoming a pattern. Every time the stakes reach their highest, somehow, Lamine Yamal walks away the winner. Euro semifinal. Nations League. Clásicos. Cup finals. World Cup semifinal. Again. Again. And again. So here's the question that suddenly doesn't sound crazy anymore. What if Lamine Yamal wins the World Cup? Because if that happens, he won't become the future of football. He'll become its present. Think about this for a second. This isn't happening in league games. It isn't happening on quiet Saturday afternoons. It's happening on football's biggest stages. Every single time their paths cross, the stakes couldn't be higher. A European Championship semifinal. A Nations League semifinal. Spanish Super Cups. Copa del Rey finals. A World Cup semifinal. The games that define careers, not seasons. And every time, football expected one man to own the spotlight. Kylian Mbappe. Instead, another name kept stealing the headlines. Lamine Yamal. Not once. Not twice. Again. 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 6 different occasions. 6 different pressure cookers. 6 opportunities for Mbappe to remind the world who the king was supposed to be. Yet somehow, every chapter ended with the same image. Yamal celebrating. Mbappe walking away. And that's the frightening part. Because 1 upset can be luck. 2 can be coincidence. 3 starts a conversation. 6 becomes a pattern. Every rivalry has a beginning. Messi and Cristiano had theirs. Ronaldo and Rooney had theirs. This one began in Germany, Euro 2024. France arrived carrying enormous expectations. They had one of the deepest squads in international football. And standing at the center of it all was Kylian Mbappe. The captain. The superstar. The player almost everyone believed would dominate the post-Messi era. Across the pitch stood a 16-year-old kid. No World Cup. No Ballon d'Or. No legendary reputation. Just unbelievable confidence, and absolutely nothing to lose. Most teenagers dream of playing in a European Championship semifinal. Lamine Yamal decided it. 1 touch. 1 shift onto his left foot. 1 strike from outside the box, and suddenly, the entire football world stopped talking. Spain eliminated France. Spain reached the final. Spain became European champions. But the biggest story wasn't Spain. It was what that goal represented. Because that wasn't just another spectacular finish. It was football's first warning. Maybe the player everyone expected to inherit the game wasn't the one actually taking it. If Euro 2024 was the warning, Spain became the confirmation. Because football's biggest transfer finally happened. Kylian Mbappe signed for Real Madrid. It looked like destiny. The biggest superstar in the world, joining the biggest club in football. Everyone expected a new era. More Champions Leagues. More Ballon d'Ors. More dominance. But there was one problem. Lamine Yamal wasn't going anywhere. The first Clásico arrived, and instead of welcoming football's newest Galactico, Barcelona tore Real Madrid apart. 5-2. The headlines weren't about Mbappe's arrival. They were about Yamal's brilliance. And if that felt like a bad night, it quickly became a trend. Months later, another Clasico. Another final. Another opportunity for Mbappe to announce himself. Instead, Barcelona lifted another trophy. 3-2. Lamine celebrated. Mbappe watched. And that's when people started noticing something uncomfortable. Mbappe wasn't playing badly. In fact, he often played well. He scored. He created chances. He did everything you'd expect from a superstar. It still wasn't enough. Because every time football demanded a winner, somehow, Lamine Yamal kept becoming that player. By now, people had stopped calling it luck. They started calling it a rivalry. And every new meeting only made one question louder. Could Mbappe actually beat Lamine Yamal when everything was on the line? The Nations League semifinal arrived. Another heavyweight clash. Another chance to change the story. Instead, the story became even harsher. Spain defeated France. 5-4. And in the middle of the chaos, Lamine Yamal produced another statement performance. 2 goals. Another victory. Another final. Another night where football expected Mbappe, but remembered Yamal. And that's when the conversation changed forever. People stopped asking, can Yamal reach Mbappe? They started asking, can Mbappe stop Yamal? That's a completely different conversation. Because one player is chasing. The other is setting the pace. Then came 2026. The biggest stage of them all. The FIFA World Cup. France were chasing another final. Mbappe was chasing history. 3 consecutive World Cup finals. A feat almost impossible in modern football. Everything was perfectly set, until Spain stood in the way. Again. The scoreboard said, Spain 2. France 0. But that score doesn't tell the whole story. Because Lamine Yamal didn't need a goal to control the game. He forced mistakes. He stretched France's defense. He won the penalty that broke the deadlock. Every dangerous Spanish attack seemed to begin with the ball at his feet. And when the final whistle sounded, the image felt painfully familiar. Mbappe walking off. Lamine Yamal walking into another final. At that point, even the loudest doubters started running out of excuses. And that's why this question suddenly feels terrifying. What happens if Lamine Yamal wins the World Cup? Not someday. Now. At 19. Because history usually moves slowly. Legends need years. Sometimes decades. They fail. They lose finals. They disappear. They come back stronger. That's how greatness is supposed to work. Lamine Yamal completely ignored that script. Before turning 19, he had already become a European champion. Already decided a European Championship semifinal. Already dominated Clásicos. Already lifted league titles. Already become Barcelona's most feared attacker. Already reached a World Cup final. Think about that for a second. Most players are still trying to earn a starting position at 19. Yamal is collecting trophies that define careers. And if he wins the World Cup, the conversation changes forever. He won't just be football's brightest young player. He won't even be football's future. He instantly becomes football's present. Because after that, nobody can honestly keep saying, he's too young. Or, let's wait a few more years. Football won't wait. History won't wait. Lamine Yamal won't wait. And this is where football enters completely unknown territory. Because we've seen teenage stars before. We've seen wonder kids. We've seen players explode onto the scene, only to disappear a few years later. Football history is full of them. Lamine Yamal doesn't feel like one of them. That's what makes this story so uncomfortable. If he lifts the World Cup, the conversation changes overnight. No more potential. No more one day. No more let's wait. Because after a World Cup, what exactly are we waiting for? At 19, he'd already have a European Championship, a World Cup, league titles, domestic cups, Clásicos, international finals, historic records, and perhaps football's most terrifying reputation. The player who keeps showing up when history is watching. That's incredibly rare. Plenty of players dominate league games. Very few dominate football history. And maybe that's the biggest difference. Because Lamine Yamal isn't building highlights. He's building chapters. Every major tournament, another chapter. Every final, another chapter. Every trophy, another chapter. And if Sunday ends the way Spain dreams it will, football may have to accept something much sooner than anyone expected. Maybe the next era has already begun. Maybe 20 years from now, people won't remember this tournament as the World Cup where Spain became champions. Maybe they'll remember it as the World Cup where football quietly changed forever. Because every generation has a moment when the game chooses someone new. Pelé had his moment. Maradona had his. Messi had his. Cristiano had his. Those moments don't announce themselves. You only recognize them after they're already history. And that's exactly why this feels different. Maybe, years from now, we'll look back at this tournament and realize this wasn't the beginning of Lamine Yamal's story. It was the beginning of football's next era. Or maybe we're all getting carried away. Maybe he's simply having the greatest teenage run football has ever seen. That's what makes Sunday so fascinating. Because 90 minutes might answer a question people will argue about for the next 20 years. So now, I want your answer. If Lamine Yamal lifts the World Cup, does football officially enter the Yamal era? Or is it still too early? Let me know below, because something tells me we'll all come back to this video one day to see who was right.